This is TWiT.
Facebook's political ad archive.
Okay, you knew this would be a rat hole. Let's get into it, man.
Well, because it's actually fun.
Where is it online? Is it on Facebook?
So yeah, if you go, it's in the Facebook rundown, the link there. And so that link I put up is a sample search.
Oh, this is the Elizabeth Warren's campaign. Okay,
right.
So I don't know if this is going to matter because A, it says Facebook's advertising tools might not work as expected when an ad blocker is enabled, and B, I don't have a Facebook account. But let's see. Oh yes, it does seem to work. So this is Elizabeth Warren.
These are the actual ads, yeah, and you can see ad performance. So you click on a.
So this search is going to be who bought the ad,
no,
or
this is whatever. Anything that mentions Elizabeth Warren. So I also did a search on Wall.
So and it does say, by the way, Trump, which is great in the archive, who paid for the ad,
who paid for it, when it started. Then if you click on performance,
okay,
the bottom of one of those. You'll see, and inevitably, it's a small. Each one they're doing A/B Z testing.
$100, less than 1,000 impressions,
and then you see who demographically, male, female, and age got it, and then you scroll down, you see location.
Oh, so she was buying women in California.
She was buying California, yeah, right?
Okay, so that's one of many Trump ad buys. So
there were Trump ads. If you just search on Trump,
okay,
there's ton. You know, it's also really telling the volume. Earlier this afternoon, I looked on Trump and I saw his ads after his speech last night. I had to scroll like 25 pages to get to them today. Later on, a few hours later, because there's so many ads that mention Trump.
Now, some of these are
pro and positive. Yeah, pro and negative.
But
right?
It's interesting who's paying for these. So, do we know, for instance, it doesn't say this is a Russian like every town for gun safety. Does it say? Do we know?
It doesn't say who that is.
Right.
No. But they have a page, and you can go to that page.
Okay.
And see what's what. So I found it. I mean, for journalists, it's going to be really interesting to see what messages are out there, and you know who's pitching what. So I looked at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez ads about her, ads about guns, ads about the wall. And
all of these are like less than $100. They're very inexpensive. They're very specific.
Very small because they're tested.
Yeah.
And highly targeted.
And if you think back to even the Russian troll factory, the Internet Research Agency didn't spend a huge amount of money. No. I mean, some of those campaigns were tiny.
Well, this is why I hate to say it. This is why I feel threatened by Facebook, and every ad-based content provider should feel threatened. From an advertiser's point of view, this is gold.
Yeah.
You can target so precisely.
Oh, yeah.
And there's other targeting here, of course, we don't see that I wish we saw.
Like what? Like we don't see what the buy, the name of the buy. I'd like to see, because when you do an ad buy, you're picking an interest group, right?
Yeah.
I would like to see what the actual parameters of the ad buy.
That's what I'm saying. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And if you look at the news this week about polling data being shared with the Russians, what's interesting about that is if you could compare the polling data in certain states with what was bought by Cambridge Analytica, right? Then you start to see whether collusion really exists, and you know that Mueller has this.
Yeah.
But even that story aside,
so much.
If you look at something like Wall and you start to see what are the messages that people are buying to try to get across their view.
And by the way, it's both sides.
So here you see money against, it's both sides.
Yeah.
And so you see money against money, and you also see people exploiting this issue for their own purposes. You see media doing it. You see politicians doing it. You see interest groups doing it. And this is, I mean, you couldn't get this kind of transparency before. You couldn't get this on TV.
So is this what you and others have been asking Facebook to do?
This is what the world asked them to do, and this is what they had to do. This is the transparency they had to have.
Is this GDPR driven? No.
No. This is American election driven.
I like whatever this group is, American AF.
As
I'm American AF.
Oh boy, does it look like that? I mean, George Washington in a flak jacket.
I don't think Ben Franklin carried a sniper rifle, but maybe.
No.
Maybe. Could be. He was American AF. That's hysterical.
So they're selling a T-shirt that says, "If you build it, they won't come."
And a remarkably
very slender
Donald
Trump.
Donald Trump. Yeah, that's good.
You can get a hoodie.
And this was all a result of the congressional hearings about the Russian troll factory.
Oh, this is the poster that Trump had on the desk on the table during the cabinet meeting, right? The wall is coming. The playing off the meme, the Game of Thrones meme. Wow, this is really interesting.
It really is interesting, and it's great. I went into a rabbit hole like crazy for a while. So here's Adam Schiff for Congress. Yeah, Congress.
You think
you
he's
see
running
it's
for president?
all $100 bot.
They're so efficient, though. Exactly, he's buying these older demographics entirely in California.
What we can't see is they're doing ABs on other interests and other things.
I would love to see that, but good on Facebook for making this available.
Yes, it's. I mean, Matthew, I thought of you as I was playing with this. I can imagine the stories that you're going to get out of this.
Yeah, it's a very useful tool. And
It's
now
also, go ahead.
It sounds like they're going to exclude news stories from it, at least eventually.
That was the controversy. And there's some media ads here, is that if it had a political content, then Facebook was saying you had to register as a political advertiser and you had to have your ad here. The New York Times screamed bloody murder, but Facebook just handled it badly, because what Facebook should have said at the beginning is, we're going to go for transparency in advertising, starting with all ads that have political content that includes everything. And what can you object to, New York Times? You should be doing this. Instead, the New York Times said, well, you're trying to make us register as a political actor. We object to that, A, or B, you're not taking our ad because we wouldn't do this. So they handled it horribly. Jesus, somebody paid for that?
Nice.
How well did it do?
Sponsored by Scamazon.
Fantastic.
I searched for TWiT, and this is all I found. So
Stephen Miller and that gun-loving attention TWiT are the same person. Who'd have thunk? And it's Stephen Miller's face in a
some girl's skimpy outfit.
The gun-loving
Let's see the ad performance on that later. I got to see the ad performance. How much did they spend on?
So this is why, Jeff, you're teaching that was aimed at men. Really? Men and unknown, and
Texas,
mostly in Texas, Florida, and New York. Well, those are our big population states.
Yeah, that's it.
And gun-loving.
And gun-loving as well. So this is why, Jeff, you teach data mining to journalists. Big data is very important. And the ability to, this would be a lot of work, but presumably there's a methodology you could use to go through stuff like this and make some sense out of it and get a story.
What I don't know is whether there's an API for this. I was going to ask Facebook people I know.
I doubt it.
Because what you see is 30 different ads that are basically the same.
Yeah.
You want to be able to compile that into one and get some sense of what the total reach was.